There was once an old woman, and this old woman had 3 daughters. But she was old, and she said to her daughters, "It is time for you to make your way in the world. I baked for each of you a bannock, a crusty bannock." And she gave to the elder sister, "Will you have the big half and my curse, or the small half and my blessing?" And the eldest daughter said, "Why, mother, I will have the big half and your curse." And she called her second daughter, and she showed her a bannock, and she said, "What will you have, the big half and my curse, or the small half and my blessing?" And she said, "My mother, I will have the big half and your curse." And now she said to the youngest daughter, whose name was Molly, and Molly was bold and good, "Molly, will you have the big half and my curse, or the small half and my blessing?" And Molly said, "Mother, I will have the small half and all of your blessings." And her mother was so pleased with Molly that she gave her the small half and the big half and the other halves as well. "Go, go, my daughters, and find your way in the world." And the 3 girls set off, but the 2 older sisters didn't want Molly with them. They went on ahead. And when Molly caught up with them, they tied her to a rock of stone. And they went on without her. But you know, Molly's mother's blessings, they came and they gave her power. And when they looked behind, she was following her sisters with that rock tied to her back. Oh, they were angry. They came to a peat stack.
Yes.
And they tied Molly to a great peat stack. And they went on. But when they looked behind, there was Molly. And upon her back she carried the rock and the peat stack, for she had been freed by her mother's blessings. And on she went behind her sisters, and they tied her to a mighty oak tree. And on they went. But Molly, with her mother's blessings, she heaved the roots of that mighty oak from the ground, and carried the oak tree and the peat stack and the rock upon her back. And when her sisters saw her coming, why, they knew that they could not stop her. And the 3 of them went on together, and in the distance they saw a small light from a strange house. And they got there soon, and the door swung open, and there stood an old crone. "You 3, come on in. Sleep here tonight. My son, the giant, will be home soon. Best you get into bed." And she put around their necks twists of horsehair. And in the bed there were already 3 strange, scaly-skinned daughters, the daughters of the giant. And around their necks they had twists of amber. Well, the 3 girls slept in that bed, and the giant came home. And the giant was a terrible beast, red-eyed and hungry. And in the darkness he said to his bald-headed, scaly-skinned slave, "I smell blood of humans. Bring one of them to me." Well, Molly heard what the giant said, and she made sure those twists of horsehair were off she and her sisters' necks, and exchanged for the 3 daughters' twists of amber, the daughters of the giant. And when that scaly, bald-headed slave came to the bed and felt with his long, bony fingers, he felt the twists of horsehair, and he killed the first of the giant's daughters, and he took her blood and brought it to the giant. And the giant drank his own daughter's blood. Are you ready? Aga, aga, aga. Bring me more. And that scaly-skinned slave went to the bed, and felt across with his bony fingers for the horsehair necklace. And there he killed the second of the giant's daughters and brought her blood to the giant. And the giant took it, and drink it with me now, everybody, and Aga, 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 bring me more. And the scaly-skinned, bald-headed slave came, and his bony fingers went across the necks until he killed the third of the giant's daughters and brought her blood. And the giant drank Aga, Aga, and Aga. Well, Molly climbed out of bed with her sisters. She carried them upon her back, and she took the golden cloth from on her bed, and out of the door she came. But the golden cloth cried out, "Giant, we come!" And Molly began to run for her life. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Say after me. Up the hill and down the hill. Up the hill and down the hill. Molly fly, foot against stone. Molly fly, foot against stone. Sparks of fire flying back. Sparks of fire flying back. Strike the giant on the chin. And Molly came to the great wide river. And when she got to the river, she pulled a strand of hair from her head, and she cast it and ran across that bridge with her two sisters on her back, where the giant could not follow. Why, you're over there, Molly. I am, though it's hard for you. You made me drink my daughter's blood. I did, though it's hard for you. You stole my golden cloth. I did, though it's hard for you. When will you come again, Molly? I'll come when my business brings me. And Molly carried her sisters and the golden cloth, and they came to a farmhouse, and there in the farm, the farmer showed him his 3 fine sons. And when he saw the golden cloth, he said to Molly, "If you bring me the giant's fine comb of gold and coarse comb of silver, then your eldest sister may marry my eldest son." And Molly said, "It will cost you no more." And Molly went back over the river and came to the giant's house in the black of night, and there she crept inside. And by the giant's bed she found the fine comb of gold and the coarse comb of silver. She began to creep from the house, but the combs cried out, "Giant, wake up!" Are you ready?
Yeah.
Up the hill and down the hill. Molly fly, foot against stone. Sparks of fire flying back. Strike the giant on the chin. And Molly pulled a strand of hair from her head, and across the bridge she came, and the giant could not follow. "You're over there, Molly." "I am, though it's hard for you." "You made me drink my own daughter's blood." "I did, though it's hard for you." "You stole my golden cloth." "I did, though it's hard for you." "You stole my fine comb of gold and my coarse comb of silver." "I did, though it's hard for you." "When will you come again, Molly?" "I'll come when my business brings me." Well, Molly went on, and she gave the fine comb of gold and the coarse comb of silver to the farmer. And when the farmer had received these, he said, "A wedding." And the wedding was celebrated. But during the celebrations, the farmer came to Molly and said, "If you can bring me the giant's torch of light, then I will allow your second sister to marry my second son." "It will cost you no more," said Molly. And she set off in the blackness of night and crossed that strand of hair to the other side of the river and came to the giant's house. And there she waited outside. She climbed into a tall tree above the giant's well, and there she waited. And in the middle of the night, the giant called to his scaly-skinned, bald slave, "I am thirsty. There is no more blood to drink. Bring me water from the well." And the slave crept out to the well. And as he lit his way with the giant's torch of light, Molly jumped down from the tree upon the scaly-skinned slave's back and threw that scaly-skinned slave down into the well where the slave was drowned. And Molly snatched up that torch of light and she set off. But the torch of light cried out, "Giant, wake up!" And the giant came running after her. Up the hill and down the hill. Molly ran, foot against stone. Sparks of fire flying back. Strike the giant on the chin. And over the bridge of a single hair she came. "You're over there, Molly." "I am, though it's hard for you." "You made me drink my own daughter's blood."
I did, though it's hard for you.
"You stole my golden cloth."
I did, though it's hard for you.
"You stole my fine comb of gold and my coarse comb of silver."
I did, though it's hard for you.
"You drowned my scaly-skinned slave."
I did, though it's hard for you.
"You took my torch of light."
I did, though it's hard for you.
"When will you come again, Molly?" "I'll come when my business brings me." And Molly went on. She went on until she came to the farmer's house. And there she gave him the torch of light. "My second son will be married to your sister." And so it was. The wedding was celebrated, and a fine wedding it was. But during the celebrations, he came to Molly and said, "Molly, my youngest son is the finest of all. And Molly, you can have him if you will bring me the giant's magic bull." And Molly said, "It will cost you no more." And she went over that strand of hair bridge to the other side, and in the black of night she came to the giant's house once more. And there, in the eaves of the house, sheltered the magic bull. And she took the magic bull and put the magic bull on her back. But at that moment, from out of the shadows, jumped the giant, and he snatched Molly. He seized her, and he took her in her house. And he said to Molly, "Molly, I have you now. If I had done to you what you have done to me, what would you do?" "Why," said Molly, "if you had done to me what I have done to you, why then I would fill me with milk porridge until my belly burst. And then I would put me in a sack, and I would hoist me up into the rafters of the roof, and I would light a fire below. And then I would go out into the forest and fetch a stout stick of wood, and I would come back and I would beat me until my bones were broken, and then I would burn those bones." And the giant said, "Well, in that case, Molly, that's what I'll do to you." and he fed Molly with a great bowl of milk porridge, so much milk porridge, but she let the milk porridge run over her lips and down her chin, and she pretended that her belly had burst, and she lay there as if she was dead, and the giant gathered her up and stuffed her in a sack, and he hoisted that sack up into the rafters of the roof, and then he lit a fire below, and he went out into the forest to fetch a stout stick of wood with which to beat her bones. But as soon as he had gone, Molly in that sack, she cried out, "I can see the city of light. I can see gold. All is gold in the city of light." And who was there in that house to hear her? Can you remember? Giant's mother. And that old crone, "City of light, city of light, what are you saying? I can see the city of gold. I want to see, I want to see." "Oh, well, then you'll have to lower me down, old woman." And the old woman lowered her down from the ceiling and opened the sack. And Molly climbed out and the old woman climbed in. And Molly took the giant's cat and put it in the sack as well and hoisted them both up to the ceiling, to the rafters. And Molly hid behind the door. And now into the room marched the giant with a stout stick of wood. And he began to beat that sack that hung from the rafters. And there were the shrieks of the old woman, his mother, but also the shrieks of the cat, so he did not know his own mother's voice. And they screeched and squealed so loudly, and the giant beat them until the bones were broken and they screamed no more. And he lowered that sack down, opened the sack, and saw what he had done. And at that moment, Molly appeared from behind the door with the bull upon her back, and she started to run. That river, over that strand of hair that she pulled from her head with the bull upon her back. And when she was on the far side, the giant cried, "Are you over there, Molly?" "I am, though it's hard for you." "You made me drink my daughter's blood." "Though it's hard for you." "You took my cloth of gold." "I did, though it's hard for you." "You stole my fine comb of gold and my coarse comb of silver."
"I did, though it's hard for you."
"You drowned my scaly-skinned slave."
"I did, though it's hard for you."
"You stole my torch of light."
"I did, though it's hard for you."
"You made me kill my own mother."
"I did, though it's hard for you."
"You stole my magic bull."
"I did, though it's hard for you."
"When will you come again, Molly?" "I will never come again," said Molly, "for my business is done." "Oh, Molly, if I were over there and you were over here, what would you do?" "I," said Molly, "I would get down on my hands and knees, and I would put my lips to the river, and I would suck up every drop of water until the river ran." And he drank. Everybody. And he drank. And he drank. And the water filled his belly, bigger and bigger, big as a city. And his belly burst, and the giant was gone and no more. And Molly went back to that farmer, and she was married to the youngest son, the finest of them all. And her two sisters came to her, and they said, "Molly, you are the greatest of us all. Forgive us." And Molly took her mother's blessings, and she shared them with her sisters, so that they all lived happily ever after.